Well, ladies, I'm very glad to be here and to help with the program today. I was so sorry to hear of Carolyn and George being so ill. So you get me instead of her. And it's so long since I've done any teaching that I'm a little bit scared and going, my heart's going pity-pat. You're such a bad group. But I think that a lot of you have had some of this before, but sometimes it's nice to just sort of sit there and try to remember what you used to do and maybe how to do it. And you might even hear something that's a little bit new, and that makes it worthwhile. So I did try to make an exemplar, and if you take a look at it, you'll see some little stars, and it means, oh, this thing is so ugly, I can hardly stand it, and please don't try to emulate this. In the olden days, I would say to my husband, can you change this so that we'll be more perfect? But now he's not there, and I didn't want to go to Barb Qualley's to make her do it. So this is what you get.
It's beautiful.
The L flourish is absolutely terrible. Don't ever do it. I just thought I wanted to put a little something more there, and then when I wrote, when in doubt, leave it out, I should have. So there is the beginning of this little thing. And I'm actually using ink, and I hardly ever use ink, but I think that will show up a little bit more. So the first thing that I want to do is talk about the very first flourish that we ever learn when we're calligraphers. And that's the one that happens when you're making a beautiful H and you're just thinking it's so lovely. Notice how I started. My pen is at 45 degrees because my whole letter is at 45 degrees. Then I'm going to connect at the very thin part. I'm going to move up just a little and make a top, and then I'm going to pull off with a little twist and pivot to make a tiny end to that particular letter. The letter is the most important thing. The flourish is something that happens later. This is a chancery top, and that is your very first flourish that you would ever learn as a calligraphy student studying italic. And you're saying, yeah, we know all that. Okay. So let's do another one of those, and we'll just slide into it, pull down, make the beautiful, beautiful letter form, go back up to the top, and this time we're going to go over the top, and this time we're going to come in just a touch, and then we're going to move to the right a little bit more. And I didn't have my pen. And what we have done is created what we'll call a cloud flourish. The one thing that's bad about this one that I've done is that if you look at it closely, almost the same distance is there and there. And you want to make them slightly different. You don't want to say, oh, if this is half an inch, then that's going to be half an inch too. It's better if they're just a little bit different. So I think mine is wrong, and I think I'd like you to make a better one. I'm going to come around and just see you terribly briefly. And I'm so old that getting around to you is not going to be as easy as it used to be. Don't be so choked. Yes, you want to be. I feel like such a teacher.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. 3.5. I've found something that has occurred a couple of times. I would like you to be at least 5 pen widths tall. Okay. Make sure your body height is at least 5, 6, or even 7. That will give you a little more freedom. Don't try to be squashed. I know you can't see this, but this has a sense of, I feel so down. It's going across and then down. Lift it up and over, not down, down, down. Well, yes, yes, and I know you all so well. for the most part, that I know that you don't mind this. All right, now that I've insulted you, I'm going to go on. And I want to do something that I did in Calgary a way long time ago. We had a lovely craft store there, and the lady there prided herself in selling work from Calgary area craftspeople. And her shop was called the Galleria. And she said to me, I'd like to have business cards and have a sign and that kind of thing. What can you do with the word Galleria? And I showed her a few things, and then included in that group was this. Oh dear, I'm having a little. And she looked, she said, oh, yes, that's the one. And I felt like saying, it's so cutesy, I can hardly stand it. But I would like you to try it now, because if you get yourself to a point where you can just do it and let it flow off the pen, go to the right, go to the left, go to the right, go to the left, go to the right, and then down, up on the tip of your pen and off. You can have a nice little rhythm going with your flourish. So try it, but never use it unless you're in Calgary and you're shopping at the Galleria. Do you remember that sign, Judith?
Yeah, Queen Elizabeth I's signature.
Yes. Yes, she used to take that Z and go right across with it, I believe. But I would like you to try that, and I'd like you to be as smooth. I'm not as smooth as I would like to be here. Any of you who are using the pens that you're using will probably do a better job than I did, because I'm using a speedball. And I'll take another little run around the room. Maybe I should do more teaching. I'm not feeling as old and croaky as. Okay. And you're never going to use that. But I would like you, if you're ever practicing, to start off with that, because that gives you a little bit of a rhythm kind of exercise. Let's make the G again. We're going to push over, pull down, go back up, pull down, go to the left, just as we did, go to the right, just as we did, and then we're going to pull down, and here is a chance for you to try your being up on your tiptoes again. So you've just gone around once, and you're coming back to the letter, which is the mother. The children always come back to their mother, the letter. This would be called a balanced flourish, and it's quite a lovely one to use. And now I want to go on to another one. We're going to push to the left. Oh, I'm not having a good time here. And we're going to go out the very same way that we did, pull to the right. And then instead of going down too quickly, we're going to come over, and we're going to now make a little interweaving. It's almost as if you're seeing a bird's eye view of the highways going in and out and around each other. So this is what I want to see. You've created 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and before you only created 2. So let's see how that works. And once you've done that, I want you to write the word, the 2 words, old bag. You're being taught by an old bag, so you're going to be doing old bag. You're going to flourish the L and the old, and you're going to be flourishing the G in the bag. So we've got 2 flourishes going on in that word. And remember that your words, the OLD, have to look very, very good. You have to make them look as if you're paying attention to what you know about italic. It should all be about equally spaced, and the letter insides, the counter spaces, should be all about equal. So We want to see old bag, and we want to see the L flourished and the G flourished. And I'm coming to see you. Okay. And I'm going to write old bag just so you have a chance to write your old bag. And if some of you are brand new and you want to watch me write old bag, I've started with the O, I've got the L done, I'm going to write the D, and you'll notice that when I'm bringing up my exits, they almost touch each other, those two letters, and there's the top of my D, and I'm just going to bring this part of the D down. Because if I'm flourishing the top letter, I don't have to do anything with the D. That would be a little bit too much. You don't want to overdo it. Flourish should be sort of a little bit of icing on the cake, not just smeared. You've got to just let it be a small part of it. And so I'm going to go up and do my L. No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do bag now because I'm concentrating on good calligraphy. And I'm going to start with my B. Oh, that's a little too tall, sorry. Oh. And I've got my A, and A is such a hard letter. And then I've got my G. And you know, I might even just stop there to gather some breath because I'm ready now. So I'm going to go into my flourish. I'm going to go to my chancery top. Oh dear, I've got a spill of ink. Phooey. And I'm going to put my E down, come through, and there I am. I hate that, but there's my old bag, and I want to see your old bag looking better than my L, okay? Okay, we've got some questions that are coming up that I knew would. Good girl. When you come down, don't be so sharp. All right. Now, I would like us to do another one that it might be just a little bit of an exercise. Some of you are holding your pen very tight, and you might find that this helps a bit. So let's make our G. We're going to go to the left, pull down, come around, and then we're just going to come off, and I just want you to take it to the left. And I just stopped it. If you do it again, oh, I wish I had some water. Sorry. If you can't do it, oh, thank you, but I don't want to keep yours. I don't have to keep it. Oh, okay. If you find that you're having trouble here, stop when your pen goes thin, come back to it, and make sure that you've joined perfectly. And that helps to get you where you need to be going. Okay. In that same vein, if you can push, maybe stop, you might say, well, I'm going to turn up a little bit and then pull back. Let me show you one that I think should not be used. And it's one that you see with calligraphers who maybe think they're doing it and doing it well, but they come down there and then they make a thing that goes like this. And that is not as beautiful as something that has that sense of a circle in it. So if you find yourself doing things like that, it would be something that a person would do who wasn't quite as schooled as another person. But it would be all right, because the great unwashed who are coming to see all of our stuff on Saturday will say, oh, that's so beautiful, I'm swooning. And for some of us, we'd look at it and sort of giggle a little. We'll say, well, it's not quite the way it should be, but it's okay. But let me deal with a D now. I am going to talk about D. A person who's not as schooled in calligraphy might say, well, I can make a D, it's no problem at all. And this is what we would be taught. And we start with that, and we finish it off, and it's beautiful. But when they say, well, I want to use a chancery finish, so they make their D. They pull it around, finish it off here. And then they say, well, I'm going to do this because that's what she told me to do. And then I'm going to put the chancery top on it and come off. The thought about this is the chancery top should sort of be an umbrella over the letter. What is this an umbrella over? Nothing. So here is the answer to that. And I see this, and I've seen it in textbooks too. And I always smile a little bit and say, it's pretty darn basic. You should use a D that looks like this. Well, you don't have to, but come down here. This will be your second stroke. And now we have a suggestion of a chancery top, and it is on top of the letter. It's not hanging out over here somewhere. So I'd like you to try a D where you've done it all, and then you've come to the small part, and then you go right up to the top, and you push up a little, and then right down and join without any whisper of a fact that you didn't do the joining very well. I want it to look smooth. Okay, and I'm going to come around, and I'd like to see some of your new D form, not the one with the chancery top over nothing. Yes. So here we are. We're starting out in the very same way, pulling down, pulling up. I'm at the small part, so I'm going to stop because I don't want to interfere. I'm going to go way over here. I'm almost lined up with this side, and I'm going to push up a little bit and then down. And I'm going to join so nobody knows where I did it. Okay. Put that D into a word. Where are we? Okay, they're looking pretty good. I'm going to find your, this is your best one. Okay, now with the D that you seem to have a little bit of a handle on, let's go a little farther. So we're going to start in the very same way, pull down, and as soon as it gets thin, we're going to add that top, and we're going to say, oh darn, I can't do it. Yes, I can. I'm going to go where it's thin, up here, and I'm going to pull a lovely flourish. Ooh. So you're where it's thin, and you're going to find that your pen is at 45 when you're here, and it's still at 45 when you're here, but you're getting a thin line, and then it's at 45 when you're here, but you're getting a thicker line because you're turning a corner. So I want to see a beautiful D flourished. And if you had an L right after the D, you would never use that flourish, would you? Because you don't want flourishes to go banging into each other. They have to have a place where they're going to operate and be beautiful, not a war zone. So you just have to know when to do it. Yes. So let me see. Do a word for me that has this beautiful D flourish on it. Oh, well, let me do another D flourish too, and it's actually from the exemplar. We're going to start in the very same way, pull down, and we're going to pull up. We'll start from the very top, pull around, and then we're going to pull here and go this way and up on the edge of my pen over here. And it might seem a little bit bulbous, and it does. I like the one on the exemplar a little bit better, because what I have done is I have disregarded this beautiful shape in here, and I've turned it into something that would have looked better with bookhand or unseal. Because the unseals are round, bookhand is round, but italic is rather oval, and so you have to make your flourish look as if it belongs to the letter. Your child looks like you a little bit, so this flourish is your child, and it has to look like its mother. It can't say, oh, well, I got italic, now I've got bookhand, and it's just great. The great unwashed, though, they don't mind. They don't mind. So in my little trip around the room, I ended up giving most of you something that looked like this, where you start out making your D in exactly the same way. You're pulling up, stopping when it gets small, going away over here to the left and pushing up a little, pulling down, joining, and then you take it from there and you make a beautiful flourish. Yeah. So there's almost a straight line in here, but going up. As soon as it goes straight across or down, you don't want a flourish to make you feel down. You want it to make you feel up. Let's do a Q. You know, Barb Qualley is one of the luckiest people in the world as far as calligraphy is concerned, because she gets to do something that is just wonderful. So we're going to make the O. It's just a normal O shape. And then we are going to make this beautiful emanation that comes from about there and pulls down and then turns up and comes back to its mother, the letter. Sometimes I will even make it so it looks as if it has started there and comes right out, sort of threading itself through the letter form. And I know that you have to follow a Q with a U, really, except if you live in Qatar. So you really need to use some judicious thinking as to how am I going to get my U in there. So I'm going to try to write the word quite and still leave it open for me to flourish. I'm going to actually put the U in there first because it might help me make my decision. Remember, you have this wonderful ruler in your head. I didn't ask you to bring one, but as calligraphers, sometimes you have a ruler right there in your head, and you can tell if things are going straight, you can tell if they're going up or they're going down. And the more calligraphy you do, the more the ruler becomes a useful tool. Okay, I'm going to make a T. Oh, look at you, Betty, you're going up. Phooey. And as soon as you see it, I'm going to actually go down a little bit, because I wouldn't want the great unwashed to think I couldn't do calligraphy. And when I have to do my demonstration at 2 o'clock, I'm thinking, oh, I hope I do well. But the great unwashed are coming. And it's lovely, because there'll be, okay, so here we are. And I'm going to put this, and I'm going to miss the word, and I'm going to come back. So I would like you to try a Q word, and I would like you to try putting in the tail. Don't make it too short. You want it to really say something. So I'm coming around to see if you can do a Q word. Oh, no curls.
Oh, shoot.
No. So, and you're getting a little bit choked again. Okay. It's interesting. I've just visited Judy. I'm going to show you what's going on. Her italic was getting so round that it looked like bookhand. So I'm going to now discuss that. Well, do we only flourish with italic? No, we flourish with anything. So let me do quite in bookhand. We know that bookhand letters are very round. We know that if I'm working at 5.5 for italic, I might just be working with 4 or 4-ish for bookhand. So here's my U, and it has to match the O, the O form that I've got there waiting to be a Q, and the I. My pen is at 30 degrees now because that's what it is for bookhand. So you'll notice the letters are a little more substantial. These are not quite as substantial. And here's my E, it's very round throughout. And now I want to put a flourish on it because my piece that I'm doing requires that I have a flourish. So here I'm down to about 0 degrees. I'm pulling it down. And that flourish works well for either hand, but you have to be sort of aware of what you're doing. Don't let them mix. Well, you know, when you see my Galleria piece, you'll say, well, you let them all mix. Well, I'm old. I'm really, really old, and I've done it for many years, but sometimes you want to limit yourself a little bit. But what happens? Now, let me see. Let's do an R. You know, I used to be a teacher in the real school, and I used to teach English. And when I started to teach calligraphy, I would never have been able to go back to teach English because you don't throw a capital R in a lowercase thing when you're at school. You just don't do it because you want the kids to know what is uppercase, what is lowercase. But when you're a calligrapher, you want to throw in an R because it's so wonderful. Sometimes you need to have a place to flourish and then you suddenly get them. So if I were writing the word rare, and I'll just start with this and I'll go back to italic. Now I'm going to start in exactly the same way as I did. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to pull down a little bit close to the bottom. And you're going to say, why? And you'll find out what's going to happen. Then I'm going to finish my beautiful word. It's rare. And now I'm going to lower my pen angle. And I'm going to pull my beautiful flourish, as I did with the Q, and then up on the edge. And there we are. So we've developed a way to flourish in the middle of a word that we might not normally have. So will you find a word that contains an R within it and flourish that R just the way you did the Q?
This is killing me.
Yes, I can tell that you're all a little bit, you're tired. I'm tired too. Okay, don't be so choked. I think that we've gone on too long, but you know, the Galleria isn't very long.
That's what I was saying.
And maybe we could go over a little. I think, could we have a coffee break now? And I'll just continue to be who I am. Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
informal coffee.
I had a little question from Lucy just before the coffee break, and she said, is there any way to get a little more free? So I want to deal with that right now, and I want us to do a lowercase g. I want you to start with a tiny, I guess I better get that down. A tiny top of my G. I'm going to add a little bit of an ear to it. I'm going to push out its neck away to the side, and I'm going to bring it down. I might have to stop there because I can't quite do it. And maybe I'm going to have to come from here down to here, and I don't want anybody to see where I joined. And maybe I'll go back to that small space there and pull it out a little farther. If you're ever going to stop in the middle of a flourish, stop at a place where it's thin, because you can always pick it up from a thin place. It's very hard to pick it up from a thick place. So try that G. Look at its lovely belly below. And you're going to say, but Betty, you told me that we had to keep the shapes the way they sort of normally are. If they're italic, they're all oval. If they're bookhand, they're all round. But this G is having such a wonderful time. He's part italic and he's part bookhand. And it's okay because he's having this wonderful time. So try that. Start out with that pretty normal thing that goes to italic, and then push it away out to the right. Go as far as you can, and then start at the top and come down to where you had that small part. And then you can go out to the top. As long as you're starting where it's thin, you can do it.
Well, you can do it, Betty. I'm having a bit of a ragged time here.
But remember, you're all on the young side of life, except for Judith Lovell. And so you have, it's fine, you've got time to learn, but for some of us, we're knocking on death's door, and it's not a nice place to be. Okay, so now we're going to do a Y, and this Y is going to be shaped like a V. My Y that I would normally do in italic would look somewhat like this. And for the people who are just starting, I'm trying to say, I've said to some of them, we are trying for 2 flat pen widths in the counter space. But for this one, we don't care. It's going to be shaped like a V, and we're going to come right down underneath it. We're going to go way off to the left, and then we're going to join and pull away up to the right. And we have a very, very vibrant Y. And when we will use that, it's kind of, when you see some of the slides that are coming up, I want you to have a chance to ask me a few questions. And I did say to Judy, if it's not covered, ask once we get the slides going. Let's do a K. K is so beautiful because it has so many places that it can happen. So I'm going to start the way I did with the H early this morning. We're going to pull down and we're going to stop when we get to our line. We're going to pull across and we can make our flourish. And if we have to stop, we have to stop because it's just too hard. But if I start away up here and I come down and I don't know where I'm making a bad one. This is one of the ones I'm going to have to put one of those stars on and say it's very bad. Don't do that. But do you see the K on the exemplar right here? I would like you to, if you could try that. You won't be able to do it with your hand going just the way you're sitting. You're going to have to turn the paper around. Sometimes when I'm doing one of those, I will do this. I'm going to do it there, and I might just take it around as far as I can from here, and then I might even turn the paper and say, now I can finish it. And that becomes your upward flourish. Sometimes you don't need upward flourishes, but you pretty much need downward flourishes. And the very first one that I ever learned after the chancery top was the downward flourish that we started off with this sort of galleria, and then we went through it and had the balance flourish, and then we had the one that went through it and created all the little spaces. So that's what I wanted to do on italic. And there are a lot of examples there, and if you sort of keep this exemplar, it might be good to have at your side from time to time because you might need to have little suggestions. But let's go down to one that says Roman letter possibilities. You'll notice that I have the Roman alphabet there. I've tried to be very, very careful about being attentive to the letter forms. A is usually 3/4 letter, B is a half-width letter, C is a full-width letter, and so forth. I've tried to be careful. And I've put little dots any place where I think there's a possibility of a flourish. So let me do an A. I'm going to start this way, and I'm going to go straight out there, and I may go this way, come back, and don't ever let anybody see where you did the join. Then finish it off. Here is a possibility for a flourish. I can go up there from the crossbar. The crossbars are wonderful. The crossbar here is wonderful. If you've taken any italic, maybe from me or from other people, you'll find that you sometimes have a little thing like this that starts a letter off. A little swash at the beginning, and that's another place for a flourish to happen. A swash is a flourish, but we're not doing swashes today. We're trying to think of flourishes. Oh, you people who are new, this is terrible, isn't it? Because it's just giving you the whole caboodle, and you were saying, I only want the cub, not the boodle. Okay. B, there's not very much you can do. If I'm ever working with the B, and it just has to have a little bit of flourish, this is something I have done for absolute years, and I'm not going to stop doing it. I turn the paper around, I use my pen flat, I pull up right beside it, and I give it a little flourish that way. Sometimes I'll even add a little pull at 45 degrees, and that helps to give it a little bit more. But remember, pull that right up. It has to look like a flourish. It can't be just a little add-on. Don't make it just about a quarter of an inch taller than your letter. Make it quite a bit taller because you want it to be big. A C, there's nothing you can do with a C. But one lady did try, and it ended up looking something like this. And it's just terrible. This is not a good way for calligraphy to look. Just let your C be without any flourish at all. There's not much you can do with the D, except maybe do that thing that we did with the B, because you've got the downstroke. If you've got the downstroke, you can do it. And E, there's all sorts of possibilities. Do you see I have a little dot behind it and a dot on every one of the crossbars because they're all places that it could happen. So if I'm at the end of a thing, I might say, oh, I'm going to just bring that one right up. But I'm very attentive to the letter form the way it is. I try not to mess with the form too much. If I were starting it, I might actually come in there with a swash, and that would be a nice way to give it a start. It could always come out this way, have a little bit more there. Notice there's a slight curve at the bottom of that. If you ever want to have anything that looks a little bit flourishy, a curve is better than a real straight. You know, most of us don't like Donald Trump these days. He's on your exemplar. I tried to make him look a little bit better than the way I feel about him. There are lots of nice things going on. Look at the N. You can go right up and you can take it up. Look at the R, going right through it and even going through some of the letters. You know, that's a scary thing to do when you're a beginning calligrapher. To go through what you've already done and done really well, oh, I don't know, but that's what you should do. So I went right through him and came down and flourished him up, and you know, he looked much better than he does. When you're dealing with capitals, you try to find what you can find. With the F, I've done the same thing, the idea that we had on the E. The G, there might be a possibility on the crossbar. The I, there's really not a lot you can do with it. J, not much either. K, two possible places, and you've already got that downstroke. With an M, sometimes it's lovely to take a big swipe off to the left, and maybe even a little bit more here, and then continue on making your M. This is one I wouldn't suggest to you. This is one that my aunt used to do on all of her letters to my mother, and I can remember it happening and thinking they were so lovely. But that was before I knew any calligraphy, because she would bring something down here, because my mother's name was Marguerite. And we don't usually take a flourish over here. I'm not sure why, but the ones that come to the left are a little bit more viable, a little more beautiful for us as calligraphers. But I thought these were just so special. Auntie Norma was very good at those. And the N, and you saw it in Donald Trump, that's where I would take it. I sometimes would go down with the downstroke on the left on an N, because if I want something to the left, I might take it. Things to the left are not easy to find. You get more possibilities going to the right and going down. But things to the left, sometimes you're just searching to try to find something. In the slides that I show you, I'll discuss some of that. And then you've done your Q already. You know what to do. You know what to do with an R. The T, the top bar possibilities to the left and to the right. And the V, and Ruth, you'll say, oh yeah, the W. She said, how do you ever make the W look it? And we went through 3 normal strokes, and then we went way out on the last one, which worked quite well. The X, you've got 4 possibilities. Which one you'll use depends. And we don't have many names or anything much that uses an X, so it's not an easy one. And the Y, we have the same possibilities as we have in the V and the W. And the Z, the down to the right stroke on the, it's wonderful to write pizza. Marilyn did say before she left, how do you put 2 R's together? And I think she's gone, but I will try to deal with it. And I'll try to put 2 capital R's together. I think that the way that I would do it is keep this one relatively without anything, and I think that I would probably flourish this one. And I might stop and go around the corner, and I might bring it down and let it go back to its mother, the letter. But it depends on what you're doing. I might even let that go up here. It might work. It might not. But the more you see and the more you do, the better you'll get at it. But we don't want it to look as if you've tacked it on. It wants to look as if it's part of the letter and it flows beautifully from the letter. Okay, we're going to have a slideshow.
Okay.
And these are things that I've done in the last, 3 or 4 months. I look after the sunshine for the Lawn Bowling Club, and it gives me a chance to do that. And this is one that I did very recently, but I just wanted you to see an upward and downward flourish going at the same time. It had to be writing the same word 5 different ways, and the one I'm wanting you to look at, of course, is the candy that's the sprinkles. And you've got a very simple little flourish going from the D, you know how to do that, and you know how to do the one that comes off the Y, so that's pretty easy, okay?
Are you okay there?
Yes.
Okay.
This one is a card that I wrote to Carolyn and George because they're both very ill, and I found out about that when Caroline asked me if I might do this program. Carolyn is hard because she has 2 ends. Do you notice how different the ends are? One is very, very wide, one is very narrow, one has a little swoop down on the left. Do you notice the L, how it goes up? Oh, I should have my pointer. That's what I'll do. I haven't used my pointer for so long. And I carry it with me all the time.
Just in case.
Just in case there's a lesson popping up.
Betty has got her pointer for the big screen. I'll try
Yes.
using my mouse and show you what she's showing.
Yes, and notice that I sometimes do that on an L, because an L that goes straight across isn't quite as exciting as one that goes up, and yet they're not going to teach you that, but it's a good one. I've got a bookhandish kind of A going in there, and I've used the ampersand to try to engender quite a few flourishes from various places. Look at the G in George. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, and I don't think he'll mind having that going on. Maybe I will sit because I'm old.
Okay.
And then this was the envelope that went to them. Carolyn and George are over there, and I've done a bunch of flourishing. And then I had a wonderful time with the L. I don't want you to think that this comes right out of the pen. It doesn't. I will sometimes take my pencil and try various things that I think are interweaving with each other quite well. And I was pleased when I came up with this thing up there, because it seems airy and it seems light, but it seemed to work very well. Don't make very much of the at the actual address. Try to concentrate on the thing that's the most important. Envelopes are wonderful to practice your calligraphy on. These people are not the great unwashed, though, so I want it to be decent. And, you know, I was getting ready to do this little presentation, and I thought I'd had that done because I gave you that little lesson before. But what do you do with 2 N's and 2 E's? So if you, and the or R. So I have tried various different things, trying to connect them all and use them all. And when I sent her this letter, I said, I know you won't mind because you're a calligrapher and you will do anything to make calligraphy available to people. So there's what's going on there. 2 capitals, a rounder one, 2 round ones connecting to the N. How cutesy. Look at the R that's almost lying down. Try different things. It doesn't matter because you will come up with things that you like. Okay. And here, oh, it's 2 together.
It just worked out easier that way for the narrow ones.
Here I'm flourishing from capitals, and you can see that some of the things we've talked about are right there. I've used the crossbars and your downstroke on the R. I do a lot of work in pen now, sitting in front of TV because I'm lazy. This is for scribbled lives, and we had to talk about a place where we had to talk about where we lived. I was so pleased with that flourish up there. I was pleased with this one, and you're going to say, yes, but you've contrived that. I did, because there is that flourish that we would normally have, and then I added that little part in because I felt I wanted to bring the reader down into this little bit of text. And so there's that one, and this one kind of echoes that one. If you ever have a question, just yell because I'm turned around.
Did you say you did that just with like a ballpoint pen? Or what kind of pen are you using?
The one in the old age, that was just a ballpoint pen. And sometimes when you're watching TV and you're doodling, you might as well just do it in your ballpoint pen because then you don't have your mess around there. But you're not old enough yet to have to. Okay, these ones here again. This is one of the last ones that we had to do for scriptures, and I just wanted to show you the T and the H there. And the M, sometimes those crossbars, the addition of that little flourish on the M helps to get the feeling of flourish going. If you ever see flourish, don't say, that's nice. Try to say to yourself, oh, I see it's got a swoop to it. Oh yes, it's going to the left. I had to have something for the left, and that's how I got it. Okay, let's go.
Okay, next one.
Yes, and one of our lawn bowlers died earlier this year, and I, of course, send a card to the widow, and this was his name, and I thought, how wonderful to have these 2 things, a D and a G, right close to each other. Maybe I will stand up. And for the people who are brand new, the counter spaces in here are the same. The 2 letters are looking at each other. You want them to be the same. But the nice swoop here, and the one that almost echoes it going the other way. It was wonderful to have to do that. smallish flourishes going through larger flourishes. You can think of that too. And then I thought that this was rather nice because it kind of echoed going in here. You want them to have a nice little dance with each other. Okay, and bibbidi bobbidi boo, well, that's flourishing using a B nib. And I felt that that little saying should not be done in italic. So I turned to my B nib, but I used the flourish ideas with it as well. Okay. Oh, and this is for the new calligraphers too. I did this about 30 years ago. Look at the body height. How tall is the body on that lettering?
Teeny.
About 2 pen widths tall, and yet I'm still using flourishes. And they look quite majestic when they're used with a body height that is so very low. And then in this one, this is for one of the ladies at the bowling club, I try to make their injuries and their woes a little less so by making them a little happier than what they really are. And so that's why I have a few more flourishes there. She's not a calligrapher, so she would appreciate anything that goes on. Okay. Yes, this is one of our relatives. Some of you might know her. Her name is Stevie Cameron, and she was a writer, and she died recently. And I've got the D and the R in dear going together so that they kind of make a nice melding. And then this seems to bring the I around to do it. Stevie is hard to write because there aren't many things to flourish. So I took the E and I made it into quite a bit more powerful letter than it would normally be. This is what I did for Lisa, my daughter-in-law, because I forgot her birthday. Oh, it's too bad Ria isn't here. And you know, if you forget their birthday and Facebook reminds you, you can always do a piece and send it to them and say, oh, it's your birthday today. And I sometimes say Facebook just reminded me, but it did. And so I was just using I think probably a felt pen. I really don't like using felt pens, but you can get quite joyful and curvaceous with a felt pen, and sometimes when you're using ink, that's not quite as possible. What do you do with a short name? Double the size of the letter. 2 downstrokes, 2 downstrokes, 2 downstrokes. You do what you can with what you have. So that was what Lisa got, because I was reminded, yeah.
Was the Stevie letters drawn, or was that like a broad edge?
They were drawn. Thank you for the question. Thank you for noticing it. More and more as I get on in life, I want to draw. I just seem to want to draw.
You would have loved yesterday with Amity then.
Yes.
We did a lot of drawing.
Yes, I've taken from her, and I wish that I had come over and said hello, but I decided I was just not doing it. So let's go. This was for June Maffin, actually, because she had carpal tunnel at Christmas. And I thought, well, I might send her something for Christmas. I didn't send anybody a card, but I did send her one. And these little holly leaves all go up at the end of the flourishes to be quite festive, even though carpal tunnel is not. Okay. And this one was fairly conservative, but there's only one word. And the one word has a lot of stuff going on in it, and it looks fairly decent when all the rest of them are very, very quiet. Okay. I was a member of an envelope exchange with the Edmonton Calligraphy Guild. And what do you do with Alyssa? Because there's 2 A's and 2 S's and a Y. Well, when you get going on it and you sit there with your pencil, you can sometimes come up with something that's quite charming. And I actually thought that this was pretty darn nice. I think her name was Alyssa Coons, and so and it was done around Valentine's Day. So I had a good time with that. And Don Unger, one of the bowlers, again a short name. a name that starts with D, and a name that starts with U. I needed something at the left, so I used that. I've extended a little in here. I've tried to get the most out of the letters that I could because there's not a lot there to work with. So the double stroking helps. Okay, and this was what was inside the card. You know, it's that sign, yeah, gotta have heart. And usually when it's a heart thing, I do that one. And again, I'm using the flourishes, and I've done that in my ballpoint pen, and the letters are pretty much drawn. Okay, now here's one. I think, Judy, this goes to your question. When you've got a huge bunch of text, you don't want to have it flourished all over. You just want to have a few. So there's a little one there to start it off. I had a lot of space here, and I thought maybe it would be good to use that. And then finally, oh, I've got an R in the last line. How wonderful. So there we are. It's right there. And then this was for a lady that hurt her finger. And again, I'm trying to be a little more uplifting than not. Okay. And this was to our friends Ross and Judith for Christmas. And there's a lot of flourish going on here. Auntie Norma would have loved that one. There's two R's together. I just kind of overdid it, but it was all right.
It's
okay.
Christmas. And that's the last one.
That's it.
Thank you, Betty. Wow.
Did things get covered?